Zhang Weili versus Rose Namajunas. The rematch. Rematch coming back from April UFC 244 that took place in Jacksonville. The first event back with fans after the COVID crisis. Rose Namajunas stopping Weili in the first round by head kick. Weili stood up and started disputing, but we all saw it. She was out undisputably, and Rose Namajunas gets the belt for that. Now, heading into this fight, there hasn't been that much talk about Rose. Rose is still being consistent with her training. I think there was a couple of different options for opponents, but that were being thrown out there. But I think the UFC wants to make a big play for the Chinese market. They've got the Performance Center that just opened in China. They got a lot of Chinese fighters coming through, and good for them. They're trying to be a world company. They provide entertainment across the globe. Now they want to be present in those countries. So, obviously, in my opinion, it's a business decision. But if the business doesn't grow, we don't get to enjoy the fights as fans and be part of that grandeur that is the excitement to be as part of the of this event and get caught up in what this sport really is, and the UFC being the leading organization in this sport. So good for them. If it takes Weili being getting another crack at the belt, to represent China, so be it. So be it. I'm here for it. Now, there's also a bit of controversy on her side, and that's that it's not really controversy. It's more so of it's opening the people's eyes to say, a what if, because she's no longer training in China. She's now training with the recently retired Henry Cejudo and his team. Apparently, he's putting together a team out there in Arizona. He's added Davison Figueiredo, who will be getting a rematch against in the trilogy fight against Brendan Moreno. That fight, it was supposed to be in December. It's now moved to January to open up the year. I think Ngannou and Cyril Gane are going to be on that card as the main event. But yeah, so Henry is apparently training Davison Figueiredo and Weili. I saw some of the lead up to this fight, some of the interviews that Henry was doing, and he was talking about how Weili was, how she didn't know a lot of the wrestling, and so now there's all this talk, now, can she wrestle Rose? What? That makes no sense. You can't learn wrestling in less than 6 months. I mean, you can, but enough to compete against a world champion. Not just any world champion, a world champion that is a great grappler. Rose is a great boxer. And in the first fight, she knocked out Weili with a head kick, rounding out proving that her striking skills are well-rounded. Don't let that fool you, though. Don't let the footwork and the feints and the knockouts of Joanna and the wars that she had with Joanna in the second fight and the wars that she had with Jessica Andrade, don't let that fool you. Rose is a hell of a grappler. And if anybody else is forgetting that, don't forget how she made her way into the UFC. She was choking bitches out left and right. What are we talking about here? Don't let that fool you. If you think 6 months of wrestling with Henry Cejudo is going to allow Weili to be dominant against Rose, when Rose is that, level of grappler, you're in for another short night. So don't let that fool you. I'm riding with Rose on this one out of the Whitman three-piece that he's putting together between Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington, Rose versus Weili, and Gaethje versus Chandler. Like I said in the previous video, breaking down Michael Chandler and Justin Gaethje. I'm riding with Chandler on that one, and we'll be previewing the main event in between Usman and Covington after this. But I'm riding with Rose on this one. Only 1 out of 3 for the Whitman camp, and I think because Rose has proven to be a dominant champion in the past, Rose is very, very interesting to me on a personal level and of course a professional level. As a fighter, I like her style. Personally, I like the things she stands for. She's put on a hell of a fights, throughout her career, and she's shown a lot of growth. A lot of interesting moments as well in the cage and before heading into her fights. I remember still like how impactful it left me, how impactful it was on me when Joanna, had been tearing through the division, and she was on her way. If she could get through Rose, she was going to be tying the record, or taking the record for the most title defenses in a women's division, and she would be taking that record from Ronda. She had tied Ronda at 6. She was going for 7, I think, and she started doing the typical Joanna antics of trying to intimidate her opponent, and Rose was just standing on the other side of the weigh-in stage, just saying the Lord's Prayer. And as Joanna got in her face, you could just see that there was no fear in Namajunas' eyes. So that was a very intense moment. She ended up knocking out Joanna in the first or second round, and then there was a hell of a rematch after that. Speaking of Joanna, the fight that she had with Weili last year in March, Joanna hasn't come back to fighting, and many were alluding to the fact that you need all this rest when you take that kind of fight. Weili came back a year after the fight. It's almost been 2 years since that fight, and Joanna has not come back yet. There's not even a fight in sight. There's some rumblings, but nothing's been concrete, nothing even noteworthy. But Weili came back a year later and got knocked out by Rose in April. So, we'll see. Like I said, many people are thinking that she shouldn't have gotten this title shot, but I think it's big business. The UFC brass, they know what they're doing, but I think Rose is gonna take it. I think Rose is gonna find more than one way to stop Weili. I don't think it's gonna go into the decision. Hell, I don't even think it's gonna go into the championship rounds, round 4 and 5. I think Rose gets her out of there within 3. I think Rose is just too versatile as a striker, and if Weili wants to not engage in the striking and shoot, she's going to be in for an even shorter night, I think, because you do not want to mess with Rose on the ground. So, I saw some videos of Rose working on her chokes. Very interesting. Her workout routine showed her like doing a lot of bicep curls with the bar, and then in between sets, grabbing a basketball and switching between arms, squeezing the basketball as tight as she could. Just working on her choke strength, I guess. So that was very interesting. Like I said, if Weili wants to wrestle, and wants to take Henry Cejudo's advice, who I suspect may be in the corner of Weili, if she wants to take it in that realm, yeah, I think it's gonna be a quick night, in the office for Rose Namajunas. So, like I said, I'm picking Rose for this one, defending champion. And I think Cookie Monster, Carla Esparza, is next after this. So not looking past Weili, but I think Weili came back way too soon from that serious knockout. You got to give your brain time to recover, and I think Rose is gonna get her out of there in within 3 rounds. Knockout, submission. I think it's a champion's pick.